All right, here is another follow-up. You're really interested in the Google Forms and you've heard about the quizzes and you want to check it out. I would advise you start from scratch. I'm sorry, don't start from scratch. That's funny. Don't start from scratch. Have the template do the work. So let's take blank quiz. Hopefully you remember that you can go to docs.google.com/forms for the template gallery and select blank quiz. And again, it's going to be a blank quiz. It's going to create a template. It's going to drop it in my drive, which you can organize later by this icon, remember. So if I want to grade my exit ticket and I want something to be automatically scored, there's a fairly new automatic feature to grade these quizzes. Incidentally, if anyone is paying attention, you might also have heard in the fall of 2017, I think it's last month or maybe September, late September, they released the integration with Google Classroom. So that the grades here submitted in the Google form would automatically post to Classroom, which is pretty snazzy. So you have to decide what it is you want to ask. Again, what content are you assessing? How many sides does a triangle have? Now, if you're going to build a key, obviously multiple choice responses are the best. You can grade via short answer, but it is easier not to. Now notice in this question, again, multiple choice, and same tip as last time, you want the kids to answer it, make sure it's required. Notice there's an answer key link here. This does not show up, this option, unless you've turned your form into a quiz. So the template did it for me automatically. It already made it a quiz. That's why I suggest starting with the blank quiz template. If you already have something that's made up, a quiz or test, an assessment, and you've been grading it by hand or some other method, the way to turn it into a quiz is in the settings icon over here. There's a new quizzes tab here. You check that. And notice the settings here. If you want the students to get their score and their grade right away, as soon as they've submitted the quiz, you check that. You can release it later. The easiest setting is obviously to release it right away and they get the feedback instantly. I hardly ever check this middle one. I want the kids to have to interact with it and think about it a little bit, but you might want them to get an email, get an email response that shows them the correct answers, how much everything was worth, and what they got wrong, or just what they got wrong, and not how much it was worth or the correct answers. But I normally do just those two. So I save it. I have one question for a quiz. I want to add a question. And again, I want multiple choice, so I make sure it's multiple choice. And what is carbon's chemical symbol? Go through my options. Tantalum, little radon action, and C for carbon. Again, I want to make sure it's required. But notice that the answer key, I did not do anything with that link yet. So for each question, once I've turned my form with my questions into a quiz, I want to click on the answer key and make sure I tell Google how many points it's worth. Let's say it's worth 3 points for a triangle and what the right answer is. Notice when I go back to edit question, it indicates the green check mark next to the answer that I've told it is the correct answer. You can do multiple correct answers if you have a checkbox style question. Then the students have to check multiple responses as the correct one to get full credit for it. You also might notice there's add answer feedback. This is a pretty neat feature. I'm not going to do too much with it here, but if the students answer incorrectly, you have an opportunity to remind them about some basic, concepts related to that question if you want, or give them praise if they've answered correctly, or even give them links to additional resources when they answer incorrectly related to that topic. And then again, same thing here. Maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't, but when I added the new question, it was 1 point automatically. I tell it carbon is C. It was 1 point automatically because I believe they had the preferences over here. So remember, the settings are here, the gear. I showed those in the last video. turn it into a quiz here. But these 3 dots here, and I wish they wouldn't put settings in multiple spots, but they do. There's a preferences option, which is handy for all your form needs. I have these checked to make all new questions required and to have the default quiz point value be 1. So if your quizzes are always 1 point questions, do that versus 2 or 3 or whatever. So any new questions will be 1 point. Any new forms will automatically collect the addresses and the questions will automatically be required. My template, however, noticed that when I created the new template, I was copying a form that didn't have these as default. So these defaults will only apply when you start from scratch, if that helps. Hopefully it does. So there it is. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to assign it in this classroom. Exit ticket is. I'm going to assign it just to the test student real quick so you can see how it goes. And I got to attach it. And this is the one that I'm modifying now. Just double check. Sometimes it gets a little confusing. Which one you're working on, so I want to make sure this thing has the name on it before I insert it. So I'm going to drop back here. There you go. Just to make sure I've got the right guy. All right, that's attached. There's no due date. And I'm good to go. So boom, assign. Now I have to go into my test account. I'm going to take the quiz quickly so you can see the response. How many sides does a triangle have? Triangle has 3 sides. Carbon chemical symbol is, there you go. Now, if you release the scores immediately, the student gets the link here to view their score. It's marked as done automatically in Classroom, and I can check it. So I got 4 points on this. I got all 3 points for my first question and 1 point for the last one. There'd be a red X if it was incorrect on the student side, so they can see what is correct and incorrect through their responses. So they get the immediate feedback. If not, they get an email later if you manually release their grade. If you remember, that was the option. If I get rid of this guy, that was the option here. Oops, sorry. That was the option here under settings for the quizzes later after manual review. And if I look at responses, if for some reason an individual's response was not released, I would click on this to release the score. However, there's a note by every response that tells me when that score was released. So I have the same view, where I can look at the summary of all the questions, and I can look at the individual view. If you're looking to have the thing graded, you can do that as well. One nice thing, the new feature, is when I'm in Classroom after I've assigned it and the grades start pouring in forms, notice it doesn't automatically show up over here. However, this new integration lets you click one button, import grades for that form into the assignment. So I give it a minute to churn, and all the grades that were automatically tallied show up on the left-hand side. It changes the total points, and it gives the grade for those students. So then at least you don't have to type them in 2 places, which is nice. You just have to type it one time, which is over in Genesis. So I hope that helps get you started on quizzes. Start from plain quiz template. Ask the questions you want to ask. I would suggest start with a short 4 or 5 question one first to see how it goes for you. And if you already have one built, you can turn it into a quiz here. Check your settings about what you want the kids to be able to see when they view their score, and go from there. And then once you go back in Classroom, open up the assignment on the student work page, click Import Grades to bring over the grades. Incidentally, if the kids take the quiz in waves, you can do that here. So anyway, that is the end. Hope that helps. Adios.